Are you ready to dive into the heart of music business? Introducing the Rhythms and Rides podcast brought to you by SAMRO.
Men ask me, what is SAMRO? I want to go register my music there. If I, will I be whatever? And I never know what SAMRO is. SAMRO is like God, it's a mystery. How does it work? How does SAMRO work, please? Explain it to me.
Join us as we unravel the complexities of music rights management, share inspiring industry stories, and provide valuable insights for composers, authors, and publishers. Each episode offers an informative session on everything you need to know about SAMRO and the music industry. Stay tuned for Rhythms and Rides, your backstage pass to the music business, only from SAMRO.
Greetings and welcome to another episode of Rhythms and Rides podcast with SAMRO. My name is Nandi Mkhwetyana, and I am here today to have a chat with a beautiful multi-award winning artist, a TV presenter, a radio producer, and actually a co-producer of the biggest music show in South Africa, the South African Idols. I'm sure you already know who am I talking about. I'm also sitting with a retired former rapper, Mr. Tebogo Thekiso. Welcome to our podcast, my brother. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you so much, Nandi. Yourself?
I'm good. Thank you very much. The last part you laughed. I said you're a retired rapper. Why are you a retired rapper?
No, it's just interesting when it's articulated like that. Retired for some reason seems to have connotations of elderly.
Yes.
And
Yes.
Yeah, I always consider myself a former rapper, but I suppose retired is accurate. So I shouldn't laugh. You're right.
Okay. Now, talking about being a retired rapper, we know we as South Africans know you through mostly your music.
Right.
But I heard somewhere that in actual fact, you didn't evolve to music. You have always been doing all of these other things that you are doing now in the background.
Right.
Like, for example, you used to work on a radio station when you were still coming up. But let's talk about your music, because as SAMRO, we focus on the music for you.
For sure.
Your music, what inspired you to also include music in your being an entertainer?
Yeah. When I started when I was younger, I always really aspired to be a musician. I always considered myself somewhat of a creative. I used to participate in all sorts of talent shows and talent opportunities back in my hometown, Kimberley. Mm-hmm. And so, when I came up to the big city, I really actively pursued it as a career. One, because I felt like I had a unique story to tell. I had a unique combination of influences, which, were almost informing the kind of style and sound that I was doing. And I really thought it was something that was relatively fresh, and I could make a valuable contribution to the space.
Mm-hmm. As someone who used to listen to your music when I was still coming up, I would consider you as a lyricist. I don't know if you do, but talk to us about your name, Proverb. We used to debate about this. It's the verb because he has these. What inspired you to have that name, sure, Proverb?
So again, when I was younger and I wanted to define what my style sound would be about, I considered myself somebody who was trying to be a professional at verbalizing.
Right.
So that's kind of how I landed on Proverb. Obviously, the multi-entendres and the double meanings
there used to be great debates about that.
Oh, for sure. But honestly, at the time of conception, it was not overly intellectual. It was just trying to be a pro at the verbs.
Right. Cool. That's really awesome. Now, talk to us about yourself in the music industry with all these hats that you wear, and how do you think that has helped you to become this good person that you are at now?
So, I think I identify from the very beginning how short-lived music was, even though it was a passion of mine. So
right.
I always, from the very beginning, always tried to, have multiple pursuits at any one time. So as you correctly mentioned, I, pursued the television and radio and, some business pursuits as well, all while concurrently trying to, chase this music dream. Also because, failure was never an option, because failure for me would spell taking a bus back home.
Right.
So I had to make sure that I sustained myself in the process. But I think in doing so, I empowered myself to just explore multiple vocations at any one time. And I think that has served me well, you know, in life, also from like sustaining myself point of view and just a career trajectory perspective as well.
Right. I'm just thinking about your debut album.
Yes, the Book of
The
Proverb.
Book of Proverb.
Yeah.
I love women in that album. It's my favorite song. What inspired that album for you?
Yeah, man. So just to take half a step back, my mom, mind you, made me very aware of my content. That's why I try to keep it clean. I try to keep it positive. So in trying to keep it positive, I would then tackle themes that really spoke to me, and one of them was paying homage and paying respect to my background, my parents, particularly my grandmom and my mom. So I really just wanted to pay respects not only to them but to women at large, using them as almost the backdrop or the focal point.
How do you think it's important for an artist to have a theme or a topic to talk about when they are recording some works? Because that has been classic for you. What can you say is the most important thing, and how can artists nowadays maybe take something from there or learn from it?
So I'm always wary of making statements like that, because music, like any art form, is not prescriptive at all. There's no right, wrong. There's no real do's and don'ts. It's about innovating. So just because this is, for me, how I chose to create, it doesn't necessarily mean this is the benchmark that anyone else should.
Right.
If you get on there and you literally just, throw paint onto the wall, who's to say it's not art?
Not
and
art,
I guess the same goes for being in the studio. You can get there and literally just throw sounds against each other and it could go off and sell. So there's no prescription per se.
Okay.
As far as themes, topics, lines, and style or language, there's no telling how music should be, or even using traditional instruments for that matter.
Exactly.
Anything that works, that's sonically appealing, that is from your own sort of mind and heart and resonates and connects with somebody else is art.
That's beautiful. Fair enough. I'll let you get away with it. All right. So as a seasoned artist in the music industry, what can you say have been some of the challenges and opportunities that you've come across?
For myself?
For yourself, yes.
Okay. So for myself, I've had to, at least when I was an active musician, grapple with the idea that, getting popularity, known, does not necessarily equate to the business.
Yes.
Certainly when I was sort of maybe younger, I thought the two were synonymous and worked hand in hand. With a degree of popularity, it translates to a degree of success. And I've learned that those two are polar opposites, really. So for me, it's been about learning the business.
Yes.
Understanding the business, understanding how to not only do what you love, but if you're able to monetize it so that you can keep doing what you love. Otherwise, you're almost just kind of bleeding to sustain this here career that you're getting very little from. So that for me was almost like an aha moment or a light bulb moment to realize that the two aren't necessarily interrelated or connected.
Right.
I had this passion for music, but I was almost at a loss in trying to sustain it.
And that happens to most artists.
It really does. And I blame us. I blame the guys on the inside, because we give the impression that just because you're on a podcast now, it means you've made it. But I also do think that we in the information age now,
Yes.
where all those misconceptions are really beginning to blow over, and folks are realizing that there's real life behind behind this art form of ours.
Absolutely. Talking about the music business and understanding, somehow in your life that has led you to become a board member.
Yeah.
I'm sure SAMRO, I don't know if SAMRO is the only board that you sit in,
Sure.
but you as an artist being part of the board, we were talking earlier on and you saying that you have your reasons.
Yes.
Maybe let us know now from an artist perspective,
Yeah.
why do you sit in the board?
Okay. Let me quickly just share the journey of arriving to
Right.
that point. So when I was an active musician and felt like, I was lacking support in so many other aspects, I then actively or even subconsciously started pursuing opportunities where I can support the industry.
Right.
That it's almost like I was trying to plug in the holes that I identified when I was an active musician. So the reason I then, started creating features on my radio show that really put on other artists, give them a
Right.
platform to perform is because that's what I was craving for when I was a
When
musician.
you were a musician.
When I did the television show that I did, South African Idols, it was in the hopes of unearthing new talent, giving them a platform,
Nice.
trying to build a career. And even then, halfway through, I don't know if you would remember, but we made it such that we not only gave them a record deal and price packages and whatever, we gave them physical capital because it takes capital to start a business and a career. As a matter of fact, closer to the end, in the last couple of seasons, we were at a point where we were giving all our winners like $1 million each. And we'd go so far as to give the runner-up some money as well. Because, I recognize that to start a career, you not only need the resources, but you need the capital, you need the support, you need the marketing and all that. And so by that same wave, the reason I embarked on a journey to serve on the board of SAMRO is because I really want to give back to the industry. And by give back, I'm talking knowledge, information, resources, plug the gap, between the creative and the institutions. And for me, SAMRO is the perfect vehicle to do that because one, you get to disseminate the information, you get to explain how it all works, you get to understand it from the inside, as have been this side as well. And then you actively seek to not only bridge that gap, but to see how you can influence policy from within to try and better the environment for the artists.
Absolutely. That's wonderful. It's important because in all the industries, there's something called policy, which governs. In all of the industries that you will find, you will find policy. And I really do feel like as artists, it's important for us to know what policies govern our industries because that empowers you. Talking about SAMRO, there's been beautiful changes that have been happening at SAMRO. As a board member, could you just talk to us about some of the ones that you are aware of, which we use to empower our members?
For sure. So, there's such beautiful initiatives that are really, really seeking to affect serious and significant change for the creative space. So for starters, we're engaging and trying to use technology to really eliminate a lot of the processes that really cause a barrier. So for instance, there's always a breakdown between when creative works are exploited in the environment, whether it be through radio, at events, and so on. And then that whole reporting process, by the time it gets to SAMRO, there's so many areas where the ball can be dropped. Either misinformation or inaccurate information or just poor. So if we can eliminate a lot of these steps by using technology and innovating, we can arrive at a point where we're not only reporting a lot more accurately, but then distribution can happen a lot more effectively as well. So trying to really just smoothen, that life cycle of the creative works is an active effort that I think the organization has been working on.
Absolutely.
Then there's things like reviewing. I happen to serve particularly on the social ethics and governance portfolio, and so there's been active effort there to kind of rework it, because there's all sorts of legacy kind of policies which may have worked for yesteryear but now constantly need to be reviewed and brought to modern times. Then there's all sorts of things like the exploitation avenues used to be only the traditional ones, which were the radio, the television, and all. But now there's the onset of the digital landscape. So trying to make sure that we also penetrate that space, because music is definitely used and exploited there, and trying to make sure that we extrapolate all the value there so we can return it to the artists is also something that's been active in the organization. Then also just the administrative cleanups that need to happen. For instance, and I really plea to artists to say, you have to do your part as well. And it's really the simple things. For instance, I cannot pay you or give you your distribution if I can't get a hold of you.
Exactly.
So please constantly ensure that your details are up to date, your details are in order. Come and make sure that everything is documented correctly. Something as simple as your name being misspelled in the documents can really cause havoc. And then all your monies end up
loss of revenue,
undocumented. And from a reputational point of view, the perception is that SAMRO is withholding, and it is not. If we could access it and we can clean up that communication process, so much can be achieved. So I can go on and on, I'm genuinely so passionate about it.
I do. I absolutely understand. And that's wonderful to hear this from a fellow artist who is also part of the decision making.
Right.
It's actually absolutely great. And I like the way that you have taken your career seriously and how you are always improving yourself. Somebody would think that no, Provet has done it all, he knows it all, but you continue to just improve yourself. I was just congratulating you on your graduation.
Thank you.
Talk to us about your journey to your MBA. Why? I see a lot of artists actually are doing that. I have a few in my head that I think of, but I think it's a good idea. Why take that journey?
Because at the short answer, and I'll give you the long one shortly. The short one is, this is my life. This
Absolutely.
is our lives. If we're not developing, learning, picking up new skills, not only are you stagnant, but that's, I think, is the definition of death, something that's not evolving, right? So for me, I had done both sound engineering and all that, but I also realized that you quickly reach the ceiling, and with sort of limited skills and so on. So I started packing on with the short courses. I first did your tax laws, and that was for the sake of understanding. That I did property development and investment. That's because I had property investment interests. Again, speaking to, diversifying your portfolio at all times. Then I did investment management, so I can try and understand my finances a little bit better. And when I realized that I, have an appetite for learning, but also how much more I can explore and how better I position myself the more I arm myself. So I really then began to pursue active academia.
Right.
And so I first started with, I wanted to do an MBA, but I was advised to start at the very beginning.
Awesome.
So I then started with my BBA, my Bachelor's of Business Administration. And so using that, my 20 years experience and some of the other courses that I had done, I was then able to do what is called a RPL process, which is a recognition of prior learning. So the combination of that experience and also the years in management because I happened to co-own a production company. I was then able to submit, and then I was eligible to do my MBA, which I'm busy with now.
Well, man, all the best with that. I know it's not a
Thank you.
child's play. They say it's actually a lot of work that you do.
It is, but I must quickly just say this as a passing shot. I find anything that you're studying, if you know what the end goal is,
yes.
it really just changes how you approach it. Whereas before, we used to study for the sake of finishing because our parents asked us to, or because we thought we had to get a job or whatever. But if you're doing it to really empower yourself so you can open the world up to yourself, you really approach it differently and you kind of enjoy it differently. So I'm really, really enjoying it.
That's great.
Yeah.
I love that.
Thank you.
You're a person who's big on collaborations.
Yes.
You collaborate with artists, you collaborate with brands and stuff. There's a collaboration that's a beautiful collaboration that you did with Jabba, the late Jabba.
Oh, man.
I think there's quite a few songs that you did. My fave, I'm going to be talking about myself now, was Breadwinners.
Yeah.
Talk about collaborations. Why do you think they are important, and what can upcoming artists, capitalize on when it comes to collaborations?
Yeah. Look, firstly, I get very emotional whenever I speak of my good friend Jabs. May his incredible soul rest in peace.
Absolutely.
But I feel like everybody knows something that you don't. We can all learn from each other.
Absolutely.
And it's only by collaboration that we can often create something that individually we may have limitations in creating. So by plugging into each other, I get to leverage off of what you know, your perspectives, you get to leverage off mine. And as the adage goes, if you want to go fast, go alone.
Yeah.
But if you want to go far, go together.
Absolutely.
So, the more we cooperate, the further and the more we can achieve.
That's great. I absolutely love that. And I feel like most people, when they're coming up, they're like, yeah, no, it's my time. I want to shine. I want to shine. Yeah. But it's actually what you're saying is very important. In order to go far, then you need to have a village or a tribe of people that will take you there.
For sure. Also, you shine so much brighter when you help others shine.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a great one. So I think we are almost to the end of our chat,
right.
And I'm learning so much from you. I think one of the last things that I wanna chat to you about is how you because I think you're a seasoned artist, and in your being a seasoned artist, wearing these different hats, give you other perspective about specifically the music industry. What can you say to up and coming artists who actually have the same mind as yours to know that, and especially now because we're living in a digital age, you can be a podcaster, you can be anything that you want to be. What do you think are the great tools that they can take or use for them to succeed in all the spheres that they want to go into?
Look, I would say that the barriers to entry are significantly less than they were before. Now you can penetrate from all sorts of angles, and you mentioned some of the examples.
Yes.
And I've always been of the belief, and it just so happens that I was listening to a clip by Snoop last night. It was very colorful in language, but the message landed.
Yes.
Okay? And it was that you need to explore as many of the different avenues as you possibly can, if not all.
You're a creative.
It doesn't necessarily make you any less of a purist.
Right.
It just means you understand that you are a creative, and there are so many ways of exploiting it. And now, it's easy to access all of these, so why not access all of them? Why not, get into branding, get into speaking, empower yourself with knowledge, all while being a creative and an artist. So I would explore them all, and you never know which one is going to take off, if not all of them. And you just become, I think of a DJ Zintle, for instance, who comes to my mind, who's she's an active performer, she's a producer, but she's also a business person, and she does stuff outside of the creative space, but used her brand as a launch pad to really expand and explore. And the world has opened up to her, and somebody like that is a perfect example of of how you can really hit all the touch points if you don't limit yourself.
Absolutely. Lastly, let's talk about what you do
Yes.
as a radio host or somebody who's on television. Now the music that is out there that is popular is the amapiano, and everybody wants to do amapiano.
Yeah.
So how can you advise the young ones as to what they need to do to have quality music that is actually placed on commercial radio?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay,
Yes.
so every single radio station has like a prescribed format,
Yes.
and they all have like a music committee.
So it's on the onus of the artist to find out which is your targeted radio station and what is it that they...
Yeah, just to kind of
Absolutely.
position it accordingly. Firstly,
I hear you.
As a creative, I would try and cater to as broad a market as I possibly can, even if it means you are tailoring for each specific audience. So you need to have something on, on like an urban radio station, just as much as you need to have something on a traditional radio station, just as much as you need to. So for me, I would try and create, even if it means tailoring something for everyone. That way you get mass market. It's little use, I think, to have popularity in one segment of the market only, and not another. There's a whole new market that you're not exploring. So for me, I would try and cast the net as wide as possible. But yes, have an understanding when you submit as to who this particular audience is, who do they speak to, what's their format, prerequisites. Try and meet those and then submit.
Awesome. It's quite simple.
Is it?
The way you put it make it sound so simple.
It's not, because it's the simple part, I think, is to create what you love.
Right.
The difficult part is to convince other people to love it too.
Right.
I don't know if you know what I mean.
I get
We
you.
can get into studio and create all day long.
Yeah.
I can't convert the market.
Right.
If they don't like it, they don't like
They
it.
don't like it and they won't
know?
buy it. And we know
Yeah.
South African market.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's-
that's I think what makes the game difficult.
Okay. So the onus is on the artist to also put in some work as well.
Put in lots of work. Just
lot of
create
work because
constantly.
it's your own career that you are trying to build in there.
And remember, you're not making music for yourself.
Yes.
Yeah. Do what you love, but it's not for yourself.
Asenzi is Tandwandim.
Exactly. Exactly.
Awesome. Lastly, any last words that you can leave us with in this podcast? This is a new initiative by SAMRO.
Yes, yeah.
And it's getting a momentum. People are actually loving it. Any last words that you can leave to our members?
Sure. Well, firstly, can I just say kudos, I think, to SAMRO for creating platforms like these. I really acknowledge, and I'm not being biased because I happen to serve on the board.
You're not paid for
but
that.
As a member, I really see the efforts. I see how we are trying to communicate to the members on different avenues, different angles, at their level, trying to explain things and bridge the gap. And I really think it's beautiful to see. And this, as one of the fruits of those initiatives, I say really kudos to you guys. Then to the members to say, the world is really our oyster now.
Yes.
Everyone is looking to the continent for ideas, for innovation. They're all trying to replicate what we do. So it's really, really our time to take full advantage of. We're really penetrating the global space now. If you look at, there isn't a single award ceremony, an award show or event where there isn't an African or South African appearance in whatever way, shape or form, whether it's by way of cameo appearance, collaboration, texture, sound, style, sonics, visuals. We really are taking over the globe, and it really is our time. And I think we need to recognize it.
Yes.
Leverage it and take full advantage of
Absolutely. I do agree with you.
Right.
Bring those dollars here because what we are about is actually to help our members generate royalties.
Yep.
With all of this
100%.
information that we are giving them through this podcast is also to help them understand how the music industry works. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Should I call you Proverb or Thekiso? Tebogo.
I feel like I'm sitting here as Tebogo right now.
Right. Thank you,
You
so
know what I
much,
mean?
Tebogo. Thank you so much for your time and for sitting to us and for sharing those gems with our members. Thank you as well for joining us. We hope that you have learned a lot from this episode. Feel free to leave in some questions on the comments. If you want to follow up, we can always send them to you, Pro, and then we'll reply to you via the comments section. And we'll see you on the next episode.
Are you ready to dive into the heart of music business? Introducing the Rhythms and Rights podcast, brought to you by SAMRO.
And ask me, what is SAMRO? I want to go register my music there. If I will I be whatever? And I never know what SAMRO is. SAMRO is like God, like it's a mystery. How does it work? How does SAMRO work, please? Explain it to me.
Join us as we unravel the complexities of music rights management, share inspiring industry stories, and provide valuable insights for composers, authors, and publishers. Each episode offers an informative session on everything you need to know about SAMRO and the music industry. Stay tuned for Rhythms and Rights, your backstage pass to the music business, only from SAMRO.